Year News Show. Let's go. We start with a massive winter storm that's affected millions of people in the U.S. since Saturday. The storm unleashed a mix of heavy snow, treacherous ice, rain, and severe thunderstorms across an enormous 1,500-mile swath of the country from the plains to the east coast. The powerful storm moved on an eastern path. It unleashed a wintry mess into the Mississippi Valley and parts of the Midwest by Sunday morning before moving on to Ohio Valley and East Coast. Parts of Kansas and Missouri were pounded with blizzard conditions, getting wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour and several inches of snow. Visibility dropped to nearly zero during the storm, making driving or getting around nearly impossible. Meanwhile, areas just south of the heaviest snow faced dangerous ice conditions. The Weather Service discouraged any travel in southern Illinois, western Kentucky, and southeast Mississippi, where roads, bridges, and overpasses are likely to become slick and hazardous. And this massive winter storm isn't sparing warmer areas in the south, where brought thunderstorms and heavy rain to part of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Governors of several states declared a state of emergency or state of preparedness before the storm, so they could be ready to clear roads and deal with power outages that the storm left on its wake. We hope all of you in the storm's path are safe and warm as it passes through. 2. This week, the nation will pay its respect to former U.S. President Jimmy Carter with a National Day of Mourning on Thursday. President Carter passed away on December 29th at its home in Plains, Georgia at the age of 100. He was the longest-lived president in the U.S. history. Over the weekend, Carter's motorcade traveled through the plains before arriving in Atlanta for a service at the Carter Presidential Center, where the former president will lie in response until Tuesday morning. The former president will then lie in the state of the Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C., until the funeral service at the Washington National Cathedral on Thursday morning. Following the service, the late president and his family will travel back to Carter's hometown in Virginia for a private funeral service and burial. CNN's Wolf Blitzer has more on the life and legacy of the 39th president of the United States. Jimmy Carter, 39th President of the United States. We just want the truth again. Wolf Blitzer, CNN Military Affairs Correspondent. Jimmy Carter was elected president barely 2 years after the law-breaking and cover-ups of the Watergate scandal forced President Richard Nixon to resign. His conduct seemed like a breath of fresh air. Carter, there's a feel that our best years are behind us, but I say to you that our nation's best is still ahead. Blitzer, James Earl Carter was born on October 1st, 1924. His father ran an agriculture supply store in Plains, Georgia. His mother was a nurse. He was smart enough and tough enough to receive an appointment in the U.S. Naval Academy. Just after graduation in 1946, he married Rosalind Smith. His naval career took him from battleship to the new nuclear submarine program. But when his father died in 1953, he left the military and returned to Virginia, where he spent the next 2 decades running the family peanut farm business and slowly and steadily becoming a political career that saw him elected governor of Virginia in 1970. Carter. My name is Jim Carter, and I'm running for president. Blitzer. In 1976, the former Virginia governor went from being Jimmy Who to the White House. Not everyone in Washington was happy to see him. Early on, Carter was accused of presidential micromanaging of excessive attention to detail. That mastery of details enabled Carter to negotiate the Camp David peace accords, a deal between Egypt and Israel that led to peace. Treaty ending the decades of war between their countries. His most difficult presidential days came after the Iranian militants took dozens of Americans hostage in Tehran in late 1979. They were held for 444 days, and 8 U.S. servicemen died after President Carter ordered him a elaborate rescue attempt that failed. The Iran hostage crisis was only one of the challenges that confronted President Carter. He and Rosalind founded the Carter Center, in part to promote peace, democracy, human rights, as well as economical and social development all around the world. Carter motioned elections for fairness. He went to North Korea and Cuba and met with leaders usually shunned by the U.S., including representatives of Hamas, the Palestinian organization both the U.S. and Israel have branded as terrorists. In autumn of 2002, Carter was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Wire. Today's story getting a 10 out of 10, having a slumber party in a submarine. The Wisconsin Maritime Museum has restored a 1940s World War II submarine and turned it into a bunker. Fine. Airbnb rented. You and up to 65 people book a bunk on the USS Columbia, complete with a private tour and breakfast in the morning. The funds will help the museum's efforts to preserve and maintain the historical submarine. Would you dive into the sub B&B with some friends and make a splash, or just keep it on the down low? Apologies if you find my jokes subpar and overwhelming. Good thing is you don't have to let them sink in. They're not that deep. Thank you.